Hey guys, what's going on, dudes? It is David here. We are back with another video. Now, in this video, guys, we shall be discussing the NFL NFC South free agency. I guess the free agency review. And we're going to be taking a look at some of the biggest deals that have happened in the NFC South, which is obviously the division that I cheer for because it belongs to my Atlanta Falcons, or what was the Atlanta Falcons, because free agency for the Falcons have gone a whole different direction than I thought it was going to be. Starting off, we're going to take a look at the Falcons free agency for 2022. The biggest news out of the Falcons free agency is that Matt Ryan got traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a 2022 second round pick. I'm disappointed because you guys know I'm a big Matt Ryan fan. I wear my Matt Ryan jersey a lot of times in the recent couple of videos. And when I saw this news, I was visibly upset, and I'm still upset to the fact that Matt Ryan got traded for a second round pick, because literally we're taking on dead cap, and we may go for a quarterback, even though the quarterback class next year is going to be better than the class this year. So we would save money had we cut Matt Ryan next year. So I don't honestly understand the Falcons trading Matt Ryan now and taking on the dead cap now instead of waiting a year, because you could have possibly been in the playoffs next year considering the other teams that are in the NFC South. It's whatever. The Falcons have already done this. Matt Ryan is happy being the Indianapolis Colts. We got Marcus Mariota, so it's whatever. We also extended Jake Matthews, our left tackle, to a new 3-year extension, $52.5 million the next 3 years, and this reduces the cap for 2022, which in order to allow us to sign a couple more players to fill up the depth of this roster, because the Falcons are definitely now going to be the worst team in the NFC South, considering we have Marcus Mariota at quarterback. But I've really got nothing to say because I'm just upset about the Falcons. I'm just upset in honestly in general. Re-signed Younghoe Koo to a 5-year deal, the kicker for the Atlanta Falcons, to a $24.25 million contract extension. So we got our best kicker in the past couple years for the next 5 years, and hopefully he can stay healthy, because that means we got a consistent kicker for the next 5 years. And that's a decent deal for a kicker in the NFL, considering he's 27, 28, and kickers don't normally get bad until in their mid-30s, so we'll have to see when it comes to that. We also ended up re-signing Cordell Patterson to a 2-year deal. I felt like once we traded Matt Ryan, that was always going to be a thing, considering Cordell wanted to come back to Atlanta. He had a resurgence in Atlanta last season as a running back / wide receiver, and we'll just have to see how he does in Arthur Smith's offense for a second and third year for the next 2 and 3 years. But that is all the Falcons news that we're going to be talking about today. Moving on to the Buccaneers. The Super Bowl, not this year's Super Bowl champions, but last year's Super Bowl champions. Tom Brady came out of retirement, and that led to a whole bunch of players getting re-signed. Leonard Fournette, Russell Gage ended up signing with the Buccaneers from the Falcons. I thought Russell Gage was going to return to the Falcons, but he ended up signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, giving Tom Brady another wide receiver option. Chris Godwin signed a 3-year extension, $40 million guaranteed. And Ryan Jensen, the center, also returned to the Buccaneers. And Carlton Davis, the cornerback, also returned to the Buccaneers. But I got a question. How the Buccaneers signed all these players and they were against the cap? How all the Buccaneers players signed these contracts and they were against the cap? The Saints were below the cap, and the Saints still managed to sign some players. I don't know how these teams, considering get under the cap, but in terms of the Buccaneers, like I said, Brady returns, Fournette returns, Russell Gage signs with the Buccaneers, Godwin returns, Ryan Jensen returns, and Carlton Davis has signed a 3-year deal worth $45 million. So the Buccaneers are paying a lot of players this year, so it'll be interesting to see what they do in the next few years. Obviously, Chris Godwin did get franchise tagged, which meant that they could work out a deal now, and they eventually worked out a deal where it's 3 years, $60 million contract, $40 million guaranteed. So that's a good deal for probably a wide receiver that's not going to be coming back until late 2022. So we'll have to see when it comes to the Buccaneers. Getting quickly through the Panthers, because there's not that many deals that the Panthers made throughout the free agency that were like big deals. The top three I have were DJ Moore, their star wide receiver. He signed a 3-year extension worth $61 million with $41.6 million guaranteed. He's their number one wide receiver. He's going to be their best option coming this season for whether it's going to be Sam Darnold, whether it's going to be Malik Willis. Whatever they do in the NFL draft, it's just going to be interesting to see when it comes to what they do. But also they signed Deontay Foreman, and that running game is going to be kind of interesting because obviously they got Christian McCaffrey, C-Mac 22, who's a very good running back, but has a lot of injuries problems going on. They have Chuba Hubbard, a running back they drafted last year, and I believe the second round or the fourth round last year. That's going to be there, and he's still gaining experience. He just needs to catch the ball. He doesn't have good hands, really, when it comes to the NFL game. And now they have Deontay Foreman, a guy who took over for the Tennessee Titans when Derrick Henry got injured, and he put up over 700 yards in a short amount of time. So he did good for the Tennessee running back game when they didn't even have their best player in Derrick Henry. So we'll just have to see when it comes to the Carolina Panthers what they do. And then the final deal I have up here is that Matthew Ioannidis went from the Washington Commanders to the Carolina Panthers. So instead of it being the other way with, like going from Carolina to Washington, it's Washington to Carolina, because obviously Ron Rivera is the coach for the Washington Commanders and needs to be the coach for the Carolina Panthers. But the Carolina Panthers free agent coaching staff is going to be desperate. So they'll make any move that can save their job and save them going into 2023 next year. And that moves us on into the final team, which is the New Orleans Saints. Jameis Winston has returned to be probably what is going to be the starting quarterback on a 2-year, $28 million deal, $15.2 million guaranteed. He's definitely going to be starting quarterback because Taysom Hill, even though Taysom Hill didn't have a couple good games as the Saints starting quarterback, I feel like Jameis Winston just has more experience being the starting quarterback, and they're more likely to use Taysom Hill in like a weird style that Sean Payton was using, but now Sean Payton's not even there. So I don't know how Jameis Winston's going to perform with this new head coach. It's going to be an interesting thing to see, but Jameis Winston does return. Andy Dalton, they signed today to a 1-year deal, $3 million guaranteed to probably be the backup quarterback, because I probably guess they don't really see Taysom Hill as being a good backup quarterback, so they want an experienced guy to be the backup quarterback. So that's just going to be another interesting thing to see. And the final two deals were Traquan Smith, the wide receiver, returning for a 2-year, $6 million deal, and Marcus May signing a 3-year, $28.5 million deal, $50 million guaranteed. So, enough. That's all for free agency talk. What does that mean for the NFC South in the division next year? Well, I'm going to give you my predictions now for the NFC South. The Buccaneers are easily going to win this division. I'm sorry to say this, but the Falcons would have had second place locked up if they did not trade Matt Ryan. But the Buccaneers are going to easily win this NFC South, and then second place is going to go to the New Orleans Saints, because no matter what, they still got a great running game. They still got good wide receivers and Michael Thomas there and Traquan Smith returning, and their defense is still a very good defense, adding Marcus May to the defense. And even Jameis Winston was performing well before he got injured this past season. So the Saints are going to finish number 2. Number 3 is going to be Carolina, because even though Carolina do have a question when it comes to the quarterback game, their defense is going to be better this year, and they obviously got Brian Burns, so he's going to be a very good defensive end for the Carolina Panthers. And then obviously finishing last, I hate to say this, but it's going to be true, it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons, because I feel like the Atlanta Falcons are going to be focusing on drafting a quarterback next year. And if I had to say the quarterback I want them to draft, I want them to draft the quarterback out of Florida. I want them to draft number 15 for Florida. I want them to draft Anthony Richardson out of Florida next year in the 2023 NFL Draft.